What's up, people? My name is Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, coming to you live from the land of the Handmaid's Tale. And I have thoughts for you on the latest Zappa Family Trust release, Zappa Erie. It came out on June 17th. Today is June 24th, so I've been listening to it for a week. And I have thoughts. It is a 6 CD box set, 3 complete shows plus some bonus tracks, all centered around or from or near Erie, Pennsylvania, here in the States. You get a May 74 show, the 10-year anniversary show with the Don Preston came back and was on this. Walt Fowler was on this. Jeff Simmons was on this tour, Bruce Fowler, plus the rest of like the 74 crew minus Ruth Underwood. Amazing band. Then you get a fall 74 tour, personally my favorite tour, from November of that year. This is the band that is like the token of his extreme, that you can't do that on stage 2. This is George Duke, who was on the previous show tour, Tom Fowler on bass, Chester Thompson on drums, Ralph Humphrey is gone at this point. You had both the drummers on that May show. Who did I miss? Napoleon Murphy Brock on all things he does, plus Ruth Underwood is back on percussion in the fall show. And then so each of those is about 2 discs plus like bonus material. And then the last 2 discs, the last show is from November 76, again, around Erie, Pennsylvania, actually in Erie, Pennsylvania. And I guess, where would I rank this? Let's just get to like the stats right now. Is I recently ranked the 55 albums that Zappa Family Trust released after Zappa had passed away. It is now, I think this is now 59, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 58, maybe 60, but I think it's 59. The last 2 releases, the Mother's 71, I thought that was about like would jump all the way to like number 12 or number 11 or I think it was number 12. Like that was significantly good. The 88 show that they released, and 200 Motels, I would put those back in the 20s. But my number 1 was Leather, and nothing's touching Leather. That just won't ever be beat. I can see maybe only a box set about Leather that also included Leather could beat Leather, but maybe then I might just appreciate Leather. Number 2 was Halloween 77, and that is 6 complete shows from 77, and though I think maybe one of these shows on this new release is better than all 6 of those shows, maybe arguably, I don't know about that. I don't think this box set is as good as that. However, number 3 was a token of his extreme, fall 74, summer 74, my favorite tour, one of my favorite discs obviously. This is better than that. And so this comes in at a very solid number 3 release since Zappa has passed away out of, I think, the 59 that have been released. This is ridiculous. The first 2 shows from 74 are fantastic and have absolutely essential to hear moments, which brings me to the sort of elephant in the room, or the elephant in the box set, or the bench player that for some reason is starting the All-Star game. Like, what? Why are you here? Not that bench players aren't important and we need role players in basketball, but so the fall 76 show, when I ranked the tours, there were 26 Frank Zappa tours. I think fall 76 was number 20. There is another show released from here, Philly 76. I think I had that at like 29 out of what is now 59, so that would move back at least 2, so probably 31. I would put this show right maybe a little higher than Philly 76. I like the energy in this show a little more. It's like 3 weeks after the Philly 76 show. I like Frank's playing a little more. Bianca is just incredible. This is the band. So the Fall 76 band is Frank. It's Lady Bianca on keyboards, vocals. Ray White, Eddie Jobson on keyboards, violin. Patrick O'Hearn and Terry Bozio. It's I would rank it way down there, where the 74 shows tours are both like top 10 tours. And so like listening to the 274 shows and then going to the 76 shows, it's such a contrast. What he's doing in 74 is, in May, it's brilliant, like psych pop, a lot of like psych pop vibes in that early show, with like some progressive rock thrown in there and some nice jazz flavorings. Fall 74, you get more of the prog rock and the jazz, and you lose a little bit of the psych pop, but you also just have this band playing really hard things ridiculously fast. And then you jump to 76, and this is like kind of the height of Frank's arena rock period, where he's kind of just playing to the masses, and there are moments that are very Zappa-esque, but like this show doesn't even have Manx Needs Women. Like on the Philly 76, that's like the one song that truly has like some weird Zappa-esque quality about it, where these kind of really don't. I mean, yes, you have like a Pound for a Brown that's thrown in there. You get some amazing performances by the musicians, but like the songs themselves are pretty straightforward as far as Frank goes, where in 74 it's just like mind-blowingly amazing. So the 76 show is not bad enough, obviously, to affect my ranking. I said it's number 3 out of 59, 58, 60, whatever it happens to be. Someone will tell me, or you don't care. I don't care. But it is a big leap in quality from the other two shows. So the 76 show, quickly, the highlight without a doubt is the Black Napkins. The Black Napkins is phenomenal. But you get kind of the same set list as Philly 76 with, you get a Pound for a Brown thrown in, which is a nice twist. I don't think that was on Philly 76. But you get the Purple Lagoon, you get Stinkfoot, you get Frank talking to the audience a lot and telling them to sit down. This is something that also occurs on the Fall 74 show, where Frank spends a lot of time telling the people to sit down in that Fall 74 show. Stinkfoot is pretty good. Sadly, we get a Poodle Lecture, Dirty Love, Wind Up Working, Trying to Grow a Chin, Pretty Nice, Torture Never Stops, A City of Tiny Lights, Pound for a Brown, You Didn't Try to Call Me, which is Bianca's just her amazing absolute performance. And the song is just like, this is one of the most interesting arrangements, without a doubt, that this band does. Frank really puts that song through its paces. Rudy Wants to Buy You a Drink, Would You Go All the Way? But kind of entertaining. The Amazing Black Napkins, you get a Terry solo, you get a Patrick solo. Wonderful Wino, which is kind of disappointing. It sounds like I'm excited when it starts, but it kind of doesn't go anywhere. Then you go back to Purple Lagoon. Then for your encores, you got Stranded in the Jungle, which is like a 50s doo-wop-y cover. Dynamo Hum, then you get Camarillo Brillo, Muffin Man, and then you get the bonus tracks of You Didn't Try to Call Me, and then the Black Napkins from the November 13th show, which apparently is the last show Bianca ever played, and so you get that Black Napkins where she does do her singing sort of solo in the middle. But not a bad show, but I would, if that show was released on its own, it would be like probably 30, 31, somewhere around there, where both of these other shows are flat out top 10 material. Put them together. I think, though Fall 74 is my favorite tour, I do think at this point the May 74 show might be a better show. One, it sounds fantastic. So essentially you have a horn section, because you have Bruce Fowler on trombone, Walt Fowler on trumpet, and you have Napoleon Murphy Brock playing sax and flute. And the sax and flute player, and the three of them together, Frank is not just like adding horns to these songs. Like, he is kind of making new arrangements. And so the horns are like an essential part of what is played. And it comes across with this very like, I don't want to say peppy, because that's a weird word, but it's a very like, reminds me of Montreal and like the 2010 era. They're like Hissing Fauna, Skeletal Lamping, Sunlandic Twins, that sort of Elephant Six psych pop that came out of Georgia in like the early 2000s. Like that just kind of fun, quirky, all over the map kind of psych pop. That's the horns, what the horns bring, but with Zappa flair and Zappa complexity. And this show is just utterly ridiculous. Again, you have those three people playing some sort of like, add into a horn section. You got the two drummers, Humphrey and Chester Thompson. Thompson is trying to make it funky, and Humphrey is such a kind of robotic, somewhat of a like when they lock into grooves, Humphrey is so tight and so precise that it almost seems like robotic or like electronic. But that mixed with Thompson's, just looser, funkier vibe makes for some really, really interesting rhythm sections that might not rhythm sections like like rhythmic patterns or something like that, that might not be as good as later in the year, but still are really, 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 really interesting. The amazing Tom Fowler on bass. Like, if you don't fall in love with Tom Fowler as a bass player after listening to these 274 shows, then you just hate bass players. George Duke on keyboards. Jeff Simmons on guitar, harmonica, and vocals. It's awesome to have Simmons there, provide some humor in there, kind of kids around with Napoleon a couple times, and Don Preston on synthesizer. So the band is amazing, and the show is essentially, you got a first half of the show, which is like your typical 73, 74 shows. A lot of songs that were kind of continually evolving over the course of these 2 years. And then the second half is like all old songs. Bunch of freak out songs, some We're Only in It for the Money songs, some Weasel songs, and just amazing. And I do think Roxy and Elsewhere would have been a much better album and a better idea, though I understand why Frank didn't do it, if as a 2 LP, one, they could have added a lot more music. Both those sides are short. But not a lot more, but you could have added more music to those. But have one LP just be the Roxy stuff and the other LP being stuff from this show, because the Son of Orange County and the Son of Orange County and the More Trouble Every Day come from this show. But on Roxy and Elsewhere, they're like shortened quite a bit. Like the Son of Orange County on here is like 11 minutes long. So, and the More Trouble Every Day is like 10 minutes long. So you get shortened versions of that. And I think if Frank had decided to release like a side of the old stuff, and then maybe those two as like the full second side, would have made for an amazing album. But however, that's in another universe, a multiverse. But anyways, this is what they play at that show. There's like an intro thing where Frank talks to people, Cosmic Debris. Everybody comes up in solos, it seems, in Cosmic Debris. It's a couple keyboard solos. Frank gets a solo. Somebody gets a horn. I think somebody in the middle gets a horn solo. I forget. Again, I've only listened to this a couple times. But it's a really nice way to start the show. It like really kind of just like gets everybody into it. It's a good place to put this song, and I think it works. Plus the part where they go, "I wrap the newspaper around my head." Simmons sings that. And the horn part in the back is like this really staccato psych pop, just genius. Maybe possibly the best sort of musical section for that part of that song. Then you get a Pygmy Twilight, full-on funk middle with the dummy up sort of musical jam in it. Napoleon making up some lyrics. I think Simmons gets in there and has a couple things to say. But again, it's just a funk groove for like 5+ minutes. And it is like, my favorite version of Pygmy Twilight is the more Black Sabbath-y metal version of Fall 74. But I could see why I think this might be the quintessential version of this song. Like, if I had to pick a song that was like a perfect representation of what this song should be, this is it. It is this version of it. I like the metal version better, but this is quintessential Pygmy Twilight. I think this is sort of like what its DNA looks like, and everything else is either evolving towards that or a deviation away from this. Incredible. Idiot Bastard Son, Cheapness. Cheapness is also not quite where it would be in Fall 74 when I think it reached its peak, but this is still a pretty interesting version. You get, one of the more interesting things on here, you get an Inca Roads. And my complaint about every Inca Roads up to Summer Fall 74 is Frank had not really figured out that intro part. Did like a cocktail lounge thing for a while, and then would go right into the second half. On this version, it's almost all there. Like, you get that opening weird spacey keyboard thing. You get George singing the vocals. You get the do 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 before you go into the solo. But the rhythm behind the entire thing is this very Con-esque, CAM, that German art rock band, krautrock band, art rock. Very like, very like, almost like a metronomic tick almost the entire time, but it's very just like kind of minimal and not funky, and it reminds me of like something off like Future Days, that Con album, or even maybe something of Ega Bamasi. But it has that more Future Days, but it has that very like rhythmic, hypnotic thing. And all the other parts are still there. You still got the approximate part in the middle, but it just sounds not as majestic as it would reach the one size fits all version, the version that like we'd get for every other tour after this or after Fall 74. But it just has a completely weird, strange, Con-esque vibe. Frank's solo is over this. The solo is great, though it doesn't really go anywhere. It's just kind of there. And at the end, all of a sudden, we're all of a sudden into the do 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 do. Like we're just there all of a sudden. It never like reaches this like climax and we jump into it. But it's really interesting and really compelling and a really neat listen. And I think hearing it in much better sound makes me appreciate it more. Get a really good Montana with a super funky solo in there. The Dupree's Paradise, the entire thing, if you count George's intro and then the solos, is like 36 minutes long. And George's intro is like 15 minutes long. You get George doing his space stuff. Then you go into a jam that isn't quite that funky because, again, Humphreys is just not a funky drummer, but it's a really interesting groove. That breaks down. Frank does some conducting. We get like a cocktail lounge section where Frank's telling everybody to like play cheesy cocktail lounge solos. So like a bunch of people get solos. Frank conducts the band some more. I think Carmen is what they do on this one. I think it's Carmen. I didn't write that down. But he conducts them through some like classical piece. And then they go into Dupree's Paradise proper. We get some solos. All sound great. But Frank's solo, which is about 12 minutes long, kind of goes all over the map. Again, the rhythmic pattern in the back is very Humphrey tight with like moments of funk that come in, but it's a very Humphrey groove. And then we get like a Can't Afford No Shoes jam before we go back into the song. Not my favorite song, but the jam is really good. But yeah, it's like a 12-minute just completely like Frank is in no hurry to go anywhere, but at the same time he's not like just it's an absolutely amazing solo. I mean, it might be like it's definitely like top 5 solos, definitely in the post Zappa releases. It's just an absolutely beautiful solo. And then after this we get the whole run of like Freak Out and Old Mother songs. All of them have some interesting new arrangement. Some of them emphasize the horn, some of them emphasize guitar, some of them emphasize keys. But even though it sounds like a whole bunch of kind of short songs back to back to back, they hold up, and each one kind of has its own like unique personality, and it culminates in possibly the best stuff ever. But we get It Can't Happen Here, Hungry Freaks Daddy, You're Probably Wondering Why I'm Here, How Could I Be Such a Fool, Ain't Got No Heart, I'm Not Satisfied, Wowie Zowie, Let's Make the Water Turn Black, Harry, You're a Beast, Orange County Lumber Truck, Oh No, Harry, You're a Beast is ridiculous. That's pretty funny. Oh No, Son of Orange County, which is like 11 minutes long, More Trouble Every Day, which is like close to 10 minutes long, and then they close out with Camarillo Brillo. This is another song that like in years after this is not what it should be, but like the Camarillo Brillo, at the end it's just kind of a funky George Duke-led jam that just kind of we ride for a while, doesn't do that slow down and go into Muffin Man thing, which has its charms, but to end a show with this Camarillo Brillo, just everybody feels good type thing, is amazing. Just a really good show. I mean, possibly the better show than the what I'm about to talk about, Fall 74. I'm talking about these a long time. Sorry, guys, but this is an amazing release. You get 2 bonus tracks from South Bend, Indiana, the May 12th show, a Montana, and the Get Down, which is like the George Duke intro to Dupree's. Those are pretty good. But then the second show, the November 12th, 1974 Erie, Pennsylvania show, Frank has the flu. This is his flu show. He is really obsessed with people sitting down. Apparently there were people in the front like standing and blocking with the people in the back. At one point he literally yells as if somebody's like fighting, like, hey, stop that. Like gets really angry and stops the show. But that leads to some really interesting musical moments. So it's your typical kind of Fall 74 set list. Tush Tush Tush, Stinkfoot, a really good Stinkfoot. The solo is excellent. Does not seem like a Stinkfoot solo. It has a different vibe about it. Redunzel, great solo. Village of the Sun, Echidna's Arf of You, Don't You Ever Wash That Thing. The Echidna's Arf is just played at a stupidly brisk pace. Tom Fowler is a beast. This band is just beastly. Again, this is the Fall 74 band. You just have 6 of them. Thompson's the only drummer, the saxophone lead singer, Ruth Underwood on percussion, Tom Fowler bass, George Duke, Frank Zappa on guitar. Then you get Penguin and Bondage, To Mercy Dwayne, Dog Breath Variations, Uncle Meat, Building a Girl. You get a dynamo hum, and it's kind of a slow dynamo hum. Like if you're used to like the live versions from like forever on after this, it's not like it's not that couldn't say where she was coming from. It's like a couldn't say where she was coming from. I mean, it's like a ballad at this tempo almost, and it works a little better. Then you get an I'm Not Satisfied after that, which is a really nice, if you have to only throw one song in there from the Freak Out medley from the previous tour, that's the one to do. Great Montana. But at the end of this Montana, Frank like stops the band. I think they stop completely. Oh no, at the end of I'm Not Satisfied, he stops the band completely. And I don't think they finished that song. And he's talking to yelling at the audience or telling them to do something, and then all of a sudden Tom Fowler starts playing the bass line to Montana, and so we don't get the da-da-da-da-da intro, we just get the bass line intro, and then Frank starts singing it, and it's at a slower tempo. Again, it's a ballad at this tempo, and so we get that, and I think there's some interruption again during the solo. But Montana's like interrupted and all that stuff, but it's a slower version, a neat solo. Then we get to Dupree's Paradise. This is, again, we're a little bit funkier. We don't have Humphrey on drums. We have Thompson. So we get the Dupree's Paradise with the George intro, the funk jam, and all that stuff. Then we get a great Dupree's Paradise. The effect on the flute is kind of weird at first, and it takes me a little while. The first time I listened to it, I didn't quite take to it. The second time, I thought it was friggin' amazing. Tom Fowler's got a good bass solo. Frank's guitar solo, I think we start off with like some Zoota Lures teasing action. We get an Any Downers riff kind of jam in there. So yeah, it's a really interesting kind of meandering, almost drifting Dupree's Paradise solo, but that's the attraction to these solos in 74 is Frank's kind of in no hurry to go anywhere or do anything, and he's always just kind of messing around, and Thompson and Fowler are always there just holding it down for him. Don't Eat the Yellow Snow, another song that's performed at a slower tempo. It's like dun 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 dun. I mean, it's not fast, it's a little bit slower, which is interesting. Then that goes into Tush 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 as we close out. Then the encores are Oh No, Son of Orange County, and More Trouble. These are much shorter than the ones from the previous show. I think like these total are shorter than the Son of Orange County, or at least the Son of Orange County and More Trouble total. That's like 11 minutes. The Son of Orange County from the May 74 is longer than both of those. So this is also an incredible show. Like if these shows were released separately, I think I'd put the May one is number 3. I think this one, the Fall 74, would be number 4, and then the 76 one would be way up in like 31 or 30. But yeah, it's ridiculous, man. Like, yeah, I don't know what else to say, but like, not going to get into the whole thing about how much it costs or what you get in the box set. You can have those arguments or conversations or make those comments all you want down below. I'm just here to like say that if this is music you are interested in somehow acquiring, it is well worth your acquiring it because it is fantastic. Yeah, so awesome. Yeah, it's a great box set. Music is phenomenal. And again, 74, what an amazing year of music for Frank and for the Grateful Dead and for like King Crimson. So many bands. There was something in the air in 74. But yeah. All right, that's all I got to say. Me rambling on about this one box set. I'm really enjoying it. But anyways, yeah. So if I forgot to point out some other awesome stuff, let me know. Again, I've only listened to these like maybe 2 times each, I think. 2.5 for one of them. But yeah, Really good. I highly recommend it. Good box set. Thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe, like, all that stuff. And we will see you later. Peace.